that he is promoting this complete false lie that Haitian legal migrants are eating. What?
And the Democrats hate Republicans. As soon as he got elected, Republicans were unfriended by all the Democrats. They wouldn't speak to us anymore. The Democrats are the party of hate. The Democrats are the party that said he's a Putin asset, he's a Russian puppet. The Democrats are the ones who signed affidavits and lied to a court so that they could spy on a president of the United States. The Democrats are the ones who said that we're destroying democracy. Let me tell you something about Donald Trump. Let me tell you something about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is one of the most generous people you'll ever meet. He does all kinds of things that people have no idea about. And by the way, if he were selfish, he'd take his money and tell all of us to go F ourselves based upon the way this country has treated him. This guy got shot.
About him
Don't tell me he's selfish.
Are absolute fools.
No, let me tell you something. Donald Trump is the only one who moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. He's the only one who got the Abraham Accord.
Why aren't Jews voting for him?
I'm not going to fight with you anymore, Jessica, but I know the man and the facts rely and belie anything you say.
Hey, welcome into Courageous Media. Really, thanks for joining me here. Appreciate you rolling up. We got a phenomenal show for you today. We have a serious breaking news story out of Virginia. If you haven't seen this already, this is absolutely nuts. I started with that clip because the hate of the Democrat Party is not confined to just a few people. It is rampant within this entire organization. It's a metastasizing rot that has been there for decades now. Why? Because the Democrats for decades have essentially been the party of socialism. For 200 years, they have been the party of slavery. They've been the party of Jim Crow. They've been the party of the KKK, the party of the soft racism of low expectations, all of the above. Now they're the party of Antifa. And they're the party of other things. We're going to get to the other Antifa side of the story, but first we're going to cover this ridiculous nonsense that is going on out of Virginia. If you have not heard of Jay Jones, the candidate for AG of Virginia, you have got to see this. You have got to see what he actually texted, not, what he, in a conversation with a Republican, with an actual, colleague / adversary, right? Somebody on the other side of the political aisle. But you are not going to believe this. Actually, you will believe it. I believe you fully will believe it. You will be shocked that it's come out so publicly. You will also believe, you might be shocked, you might not be surprised, you might be incensed that the Democrat Party is absolutely still behind this guy. It is completely nuts. Check this out.
Abigail Spanberger has said, she said the following, quote, "I made clear to Jay that he must fully take responsibility for his words. What I've also made clear is that as a candidate and the next governor of our Commonwealth, I will always condemn violent language in our politics." But she didn't say get the you-know-what out of the race.
That's a whole lot of saying a lot of words to say absolutely nothing.
Yes.
And I think Jay Jones, I don't just think he should drop out of the race. I think he needs a psych evaluation because someone who wants to see their political opponent's children die has some very scary brain rot. And this has shifted from being just about Jay Jones to, as you said and as Megan said, an indictment of every Democrat who refuses to call on him to drop out. Because if you refuse to call him to drop out and refuse to even drop your endorsement, you are endorsing what he has said. And I think this is going to hound Democrats in Virginia all the way through November.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what
Absolutely crazy. So for those of you who don't know, and we're going to get to the tweets here or the text in just a minute, Jay Jones is the Democrat candidate for AG of Virginia. And he is a complete, absolute shitbag. I mean, this guy is just absolutely monstrous and horrible. Now, that little exchange that you saw there. So Jay Jones got into a text conversation with one of his colleagues on the other side of the political aisle about a third member, another Republican. And this Republican had the gall to say nice things about a Democrat opponent who died during their funeral. That was their major crime. But we're going to get into the tweets, but they were so violent and so ridiculous that you've got members of the media now calling on this guy to drop out of the race, not just apologize, not just, oh, he screwed up. No, no, no. It is so bad they want him out of the race. But there is not yet a single Democrat who has called for him to step down or to resign or to back out of the race, or more importantly, has called for possible criminal charges, because I think is the next step. But Abigail Spanberger, who is the Democrat candidate for governor of Virginia, basically threw out a lot of flowery words. Oh, I condemn violent speech. No, you don't. You didn't condemn this. You didn't condemn him. You didn't get on TV or in a message on social media and say, I absolutely condemn what Jay Jones said. Jay Jones needs to drop out. Jay Jones will not be my attorney general. I do not endorse him. I'm out. If he's in the attorney general's office, I will do everything in my power to get rid of him. No, none of that, because what this has frankly become is an indictment of the entire Democrat Party, who is standing behind this violent would-be felon. Now, let's check out the actual messages. I mean, you're not going to believe this. And as I pull this up, I just want to shout out to everybody who's rolled up today. Really appreciate you being here on a Tuesday. First one in was Donnie Newman. Hey, welcome in, Donnie. Democrats say leave our criminals alone. Yes, they do, especially when the criminals are one of their own. Lynn Sanger in the house. Deep girl of South Coast. Deep South girl, Gulf Coast. I even see the Democrat hate from people in our own Christian church. Oh, wow. One lady in our church said Trump needs to be taken out. Ay, ay, ay. That is absolutely crazy. Lynn Sanger, he needs to be charged. I agree. Now let's check out these texts. Then we're going to get into what I think ought to happen. So again, this is in response to a Republican, someone by the name of Gilbert, who had the gall to say nice things at a Democrat's funeral. And in gray are Jay Jones' comments. In blue are the comments of the other person. They say nice things about everyone, LOL. If those guys die before me, I will go to their funerals to piss on their graves, send them out awash in something. Jay Jones. 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, Hitler, Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know. He receives both bullets every time. They are talking about a Virginia politician in the Virginia State House. They're not talking about a mass murderer. They're not talking about actual Hitler. They're not talking about Stalin. They're not talking about Mao. They're not talking about, they're talking about one of their quote unquote colleagues. This is Democrat Party hate. This is it. This is what these people, this is what seethes under the skin of almost every Democrat out there. At least that's what it seems, based on the fact that no one will condemn this man. No one will call for him to drop out. No one will demand that he drop out. No one will withdraw their endorsements. People who have endorsed him are still endorsing him. It gets worse. Jay, please stop. LOL. Okay. It really bothers me when you talk about hurting people or wishing death on them. You weren't simply asking questions and you know it. I generally was. I wasn't attacking you. I was trying to understand your logic. You weren't trying to understand. You were talking about hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. Yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. There isn't, I point blank asked you more than 3 times, and you dug in that you meant it. I honestly am questioning a lot today. Like this person's mental sanity and certainly his fitness for any office. I mean, I do think Todd and Jennifer are evil, and that they are breeding little fascists. Yes. I mean, this is unheard of. In an era when we've just seen Charlie Kirk assassinated on live television, broadcast for all the world to see on social media, just a year after President Trump took a bullet in the head, thankfully, by a miracle of God, he turned his head at just the right angle that it did not blow the back of his head apart, or we'd be having a totally different Civil War conversation. So you've got President Trump took a bullet. Somebody else tried to kill him on a golf course. Then you've got Democrats assassinating, if you remember, the CEO of United Healthcare. Then you've got Democrats assassinating Charlie Kirk. You've got Democrats who tried to assassinate Gorsuch. Was it Gorsuch or Kavanaugh of the Supreme Court? This is absolutely nuts. This is who these people are. So this takes you back to this is what he said. And when I replay this, now it makes a lot more sense. Spanberger on Jay Jones's text messages.
Get the you-know-what out of the race.
That's a whole lot of saying a lot of words to say absolutely nothing.
Yes.
And I think Jay Jones, I don't just think he should drop out of the race. I think he needs a psych evaluation because...
Exactly. Spanberger said a whole lot. She used a lot of words and said absolutely nothing. Not a darn thing. So this meme was posted, and I'm not, I can't say I don't disagree. And the difference is, they're both Democrats. You got the KKK, you got the party of slavery, you got the party of Jim Crow, you got the party of the pro-Hamas wing, the pro-Hezbollah wing, the pro-Muslim Brotherhood wing, the Antifa crowd, which are nothing more than just a different banner behind all of this. The difference is they're both Democrats. I can't say I disagree with that at this point. Now check this out. This is the same Jay Jones, the same person running for AG of Virginia against his opponent, Jay Miyares. This summer, Democrat Attorney General candidate Jay Jones blasted out a fundraising email that vilified and dehumanized his opponent. And my opponent, the nominee for Attorney General, you know him, you hate him, the right-wing extremist. This was a campaign email. So his comments on text about wanting death for an opponent and for an opponent's children are completely in line with exactly who he is. He's demonstrated this in more than one occasion. This is exactly who he is. Now check this out, because we got another news report on Real America's Voice talking about the fact that he has not lost a single endorsement. Check this out. This is when you know that the Democrats are all in with the hate and the political violence. This is not an anomaly. This is not a one-off. This is who they are at their core.
Hey, that's a pretty good ad, Walter. And of course, you could probably put that ad all over the country and just insert a different local Democrat who's supported violence, couldn't you?
Well, at this point you can, because not a single person has denounced Jay Jones. You know, the endorsement list for Jay Jones is pretty long, and they haven't all pulled their endorsements. The fact that this guy's still in the race, that's what should shock everybody. You know, just a few years ago, I would think that if anybody ever said anything like this, that they would be dropping out of their race in shame almost immediately. But not today. Today, he doesn't lose any endorsements. Today, he doesn't lose any money. Today, he doesn't lose any donors pulling out of his race. I mean, he's still running in this race. Abigail Spanberger, who's the governor, she has endorsed him, and she hasn't pulled her endorsement. You know, these people, I've been telling people now, after this stuff comes out, and none of them have refused to denounce this guy and to drop him from the ticket, I've been saying that this is the most radical ticket in Virginia's history. And I think that's true. And you're right, you can move it pretty much anywhere in the country, because this is the Democrat Party now. The Democrat Party supports violence. In fact, they endorse it. They endorse violence, and they won't even pull their endorsement from this guy there's new stuff that came out about him too. He said that he was out there in 2020. He called a fellow rep in the Virginia Delegate House and said that he thought it would be a good idea if cops were shot. You know, he said it'd be, well, you know, if just a couple cops died, that's a good thing. Maybe if a couple cops died, then they'll stop killing people. I mean, this guy's running for the top law enforcement position in the state, and that's what he says about cops. You can't have these people in office. They're the most radical ticket in Virginia's history, no question.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. So he's called for the death of cops. He's called for the death of his political opponents. He's called for the death of his political opponents' children. And he has not lost a single endorsement. Spanberger, the candidate for governor, has endorsed him and is continuing to endorse him, despite her flowery language of, I condemn all political violence. No, you don't. No, you do not. You actually support this stuff. The Democrat Party actually supports this stuff. He's 100% spot on. The Democrat Party, not every Democrat voter, the Democrat Party, the apparatchiks, the apparatus, the elites, the entrenched, the establishment, whether they are far left Democrats all the way on the socialist scale or whether they are more quote unquote mainstream, they support this stuff. If they didn't, then he would have lost every single one of his endorsements, but he didn't. He hasn't lost any money, any endorsements, nothing. And Spanberger is standing right behind him, cheering him on in this violent rhetoric. This is who the Democrats are nowadays. Bob, you are absolutely correct. Democrats are the party of hate, and we all see that. Lynn Sanger, I haven't seen anything about who or how the texts were leaked. The text chain was with a colleague in the Virginia State House, another Republican, somebody who knew Jennifer Gilbert, who knew the Gilberts. And this person sent the text messages, leaked them, said, hey, you've got to see what Jay Jones is saying. So yes, the person on the other side of this text chain leaked all the messages after this went down. As they kept saying, I can't believe you're saying this. I'm really trying to rethink some things now. After being on this text conversation with you, calling for political violence against children. It's absolutely amazing. But this, again, is who the Democrats have become. It's very sad, but they are essentially at this point the party of hate. They are they're a hate group, a left-wing terror group nowadays, which leads us into our next story. So really appreciate everybody rolling up. Thanks so much for being here. And Sanger, I love the Sears ad. If you could, please smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't. Turn on the notifications because YouTube loves to turn them off. And if you like the content, please share Courageous Media with everybody that you know. But let's dive into our other big story, which is Stephen Miller absolutely cooking CNN as he always does. I'm surprised they continue to invite him on. Although between him and Scott Jennings are probably the only ratings they get. Otherwise, nobody watches their ridiculous shows. But this on the eve of Trump sending federal troops to Chicago, Trump trying to send federal troops to Portland, although being blocked by a judge. This is going on. And CNN tries to trap Stephen Miller, who absolutely destroys them. But we talk about the party of violence from things like Jay Jones. But the Democrats are also the party of violence in that they actively want to destroy our political system, our democracy, our peaceful transition of power. If they don't win, they want violence in the streets. And that's what we're seeing in Chicago, in Portland, and other places. Check this out.
You are profiling brown people, that this immigration crackdown is designed to go after people of color.
It's such a, oh, what a dumb question. The illegal aliens who are here are taking jobs away from blacks, they're taking jobs away from whites, they're taking jobs away from Latinos, they're taking their health benefits away, they're taking their school slots away, and of course in many cases they're committing heinous crimes. We cannot have a system of law in this country that privileges illegal aliens over American citizens, and that's what they're doing. You know it, and I know it.
So that's not exactly a no, Stephen. Can you just unequivocally state that the immigration
policy... I said it's a dumb question. Okay.
Well, I appreciate that, but
it's a dumb question.
So no, this policy is not designed.
I thought when I said it was a dumb question, it meant no.
Well, I just want to be clear and precise. I appreciate you trying to qualify my questions, but nevertheless, I think it's a fair one that a lot of people have.
My full answer is no, that is a lie, and it's a dumb question.
No, my full answer, no, it's a lie, and it's a dumb question. Now, we're going to dive into the whole of this interview where CNN tries to trap Stephen Miller and he just absolutely destroys them over and over and over again. But I want to check in with a clip because what we're talking about here is A, the ICE raids, and B, the Antifa riots that have sprung up around the ICE raids that are trying to have actually turned to violence against federal ICE officers. This is ridiculous. What we see going on in Chicago, what we see going on in Portland, and Stephen Miller absolutely brings the receipts and cooks this moron right on his own show. But first, I want to give you a picture of what's happening. Remember what happened back in 2020. That same thing is going on again. Not quite as widespread, but it is absolutely happening. So I want to give you a picture of what's going on in Chicago and Portland and other places as we dive into the rest of that interview with Stephen Miller.
Own eyes, rioters rampaging, fire extinguishers being thrown.
New video shows a woman in a wheelchair punched and sprayed with a fire extinguisher. Shots were reportedly fired, and one person was hit by a car. And now the protests spreading to more cities across the country, in Los Angeles and in Denver, including New York City, where people were seen looting some of its stores in the area.
A mob breaking windows.
Fuck you, motherfucker, and fuck you. That generations of Americans have marched, picketed, and shed blood.
This is mostly a protest.
That's like 5-story tall building right there that's completely engulfed. Yes.
30 fires were set the previous night, destroying that 3rd police precinct and businesses.
Dousing the flames, trying to save the rest of these businesses from going up in smoke. Minnesota's governor says the state has seen 48 hours of anarchy.
The lawlessness, the violence, the chaos.
The nation's capital under siege.
Outside the White House, protesters faced off against police dressed in riot gear and Secret Service.
As night fell, the mood got angrier.
They are forming a wall in front of the White House.
In the streets surrounding the White House, with no sense of any attempt at de-escalation, there was anarchy, with shops and vehicles vandalized at will. Hard to imagine these were scenes playing out in the American capital.
Are we going to be a nation that accepts political violence as a norm?
We all saw.
And so here is Portland, even today. Same thing going on. Same exact situation. Democrats, the party of hate, and Portland, all once again on fire. Check this out. People rioters had the Portland police, which is boarded up. Their building is actually boarded up against Antifa rioters. And this is the backdrop of the interview with Stephen Miller and the CNN anchor. So let's dive back into that interview. We'll comment as we go. Here we go.
There isn't actually a threat that these demonstrators are going to overthrow the government. Are you concerned that that response weakens your legal argument?
No, they are actually, as we speak, trying to overthrow the core law enforcement function of the federal government. Boris, this is, I think, where we're talking past each other. When ICE officers have to street battle against Antifa, hand-to-hand combat every night to come and go from their building, when they try to exit in a vehicle, when they are swarmed and surrounded and they try to tip the vehicle over, when people bring weapons to an ICE facility to try to engage in direct violent assault against ICE officers, what is the purpose? It is to prevent Immigration and Customs Enforcement from carrying out the mission the American people elected them to do. Their objective is to make it impossible for ICE to carry out ICE enforcement. When in our history have we tolerated unlawful riotous assemblies night after night around FBI buildings or ATF buildings or DEA buildings? This is the textbook definition of domestic terrorism, using the actual and imminent threat of violence to keep federal officials from doing their jobs. And unless we send in troops and resources, then we will continue to bleed federal law enforcement resources in these street battles. It's absurd, it's unconstitutional, and must be put down.
You cited Title 10 a moment ago, and under that statute, you need either a foreign invasion, a domestic rebellion, or a disturbance that inhibits the ability for law enforcement to carry out federal law. But ICE is still conducting operations. Like the facility hasn't been overrun. It seems like local officials.
The facility doesn't have to be overrun to call it domestic terrorism, to call it a disturbance, to call it a foreign invasion. This guy is absolutely crazy. Just like, and the one thing I didn't mention in our last clip was I think that Jay Jones should absolutely be charged with making terroristic threats. I think there should be federal charges rolling down the line towards him because that's ridiculous. By the same token, what is going on here is domestic terrorism. The Democrat Party has become the largest hate group in America, and it has essentially become the largest purveyor of domestic terrorism in America. They are absolutely endorsing, backing, supporting what you see going on in Chicago, what you see going on in Portland, what you see going on in LA. Everywhere there are riots against ICE, against federal agents trying to uphold the law as it is written. These people all have ICE detainers. They all have deportation orders. They need to be gone, and ICE is trying to carry out that mission. The mission, not only that the law was written, but that the American people voted for in November. And they are being prevented from doing that by domestic terrorists backed by the Democrat Party.
Are fairly in control of the operation if ICE is still able to execute its mission, is it not?
Do you have any idea how much of ICE's workforce and resources have had to be reprioritized? How much of the Joint Terrorism Task Force's resources have had to be reprioritized to fight these domestic terrorists? Do you have any idea how many resources are spent
Stephen, you keep
trying
calling
to
them
hunt down and
terrorists,
track
but isn't that hyperbolic to call them terrorists?
What is? If anything, I'm understating the severity of the situation.
Wow, I love Stephen Miller. He just brings it. And he thinks so well. No, actually, they are terrorists. And in fact, I am understating the severity of the situation. I am understating. This is more than just, this is domestic terrorism, and it is an actual insurrection. This is a violent insurrection against the authority of the federal government to kick people out of the country. This is the actual insurrection, the one the Democrats don't ever want to talk about.
What issue was more central in 2024 than turning back the border invasion? And since the day we came in, ICE officers have been subjected to a nonstop campaign of physical violence and harassment every single day. And outside the Portland field office in particular, every night, they come, they assemble, they fight, they try to impede movement, they physically attack. For what purpose? Because we had an election, Boris, we had one. What's the purpose? To use actual physical violence to change the result of the election, to say you cannot turn back the border invasion. Do you have any idea how many resources we have had to redesignate to deal with these street terrorists?
You explain that. Let me ask the question. Let me ask the question. You make the
100%. These people are using violence and the threat of violence to try to A, impede U.S. law enforcement operations, and B, overturn the results of the election. And they will go so far as to try to assassinate the president, to actually assassinate Charlie Kirk. These people, Antifa and the rioters who are backed by money from people like Soros, are actual domestic terrorists, and they are nothing more than the domestic terrorism arm of the Democrat Party. That's why the entire thing needs to be torn down, ripped up by the roots, all of their funding sources cut off, and anybody who has given money to Antifa or any of these groups needs to be hauled in front of a grand jury and charged with domestic terrorism. with aiding and abetting domestic terrorists, with funding domestic terrorism. And they need to be charged under the full extent of federal law.
Case that these are terrorists, but in what we've seen thus far, the actual incidents of people inciting violence and not responding to law enforcement attempting to disperse them are not an open rebellion. I mean, again, you make this characterization as though they're terrorists, and I do wonder if it is potentially a problem in the future for Republicans. If a Democratic president someday calls the National Guard to a red state over what they see as open rebellion, but is what amounts to a demonstration that gets rowdy. I mean, is that not a fear?
They're posting pictures of their kids because it's a demonstration, and they have a sniper on top of a building firing a high-caliber rifle at a nice facility because it's a demonstration, and they are engaging in vehicle ramming.
But the National Guard isn't being sent to Texas. The National Guard isn't being sent to Dallas, where that sniper was.
Because the Dallas Police Department and the governor of Texas, well, you walked right into that one, have responded to every call for assistance and help. They gave a stand-down order in Chicago, and they gave a stand-down order in Portland. Do you realize that there's 11,000 federal law enforcement officers in Oregon? That's larger than the size of the FBI. Local and state police are resourced to deal with this kind of riotous assembly, but they have refused. They've been given a stand-down order. So
they've arrested some
use
70
National
people
Guard
since
federal
June.
Troops
They've been
to
arresting
fill
folks
in
on the
that
ground.
They need to be arresting 70 people a day, moron. And Stephen's right. The governor and the mayor have given the police stand-down orders. And just the fact that they've arrested 70 people, you don't know who they've arrested. They could have arrested a mugger 5 miles away. That's not an arrest that counts. And they've been given stand-down orders. Stephen Miller is absolutely correct. They've been given stand-down orders to allow these Antifa rioters to block ICE facilities, to try to overturn ICE vehicles, you actually had someone in Chicago ram their vehicle into ICE officers, injuring them. She ended up getting shot and now charged.
Arresting folks on the ground. They were refuting what you're saying outright.
We literally have the 911 audio of the stand-down order in Chicago, and we have documented inside of DHS every single unresponded to 911 call over the recent weeks and months. Let me present you with a counterfactual. And I know you're doing your best to try to be even-handed here, but think about this for a second.
No, he's not.
Joe Biden let 15, 20 million illegal aliens into the country. Pick your number. It doesn't matter for the purpose of this. What do you think would have happened if anti-migration demonstrators had assembled outside of every Border Patrol and ICE facility for year after year, physically attacking every ICE officer and border agent who is releasing illegal aliens, physically attacking the immigration lawyers representing illegal aliens, physically attacking the personnel at DHS, setting migrants free by the millions into our country? What do you think would have happened? You think that the response would have been measured? You think it would have been light? They would have had the military in every single facility protecting these federal officers. We shouldn't have to take all of the FBI, DEA, and ATF agents out of their desks, off their jobs, not prosecuting and pursuing cases of urgent national security because the Portland police won't respond, the Chicago police won't respond. The numbers that we need can only come from the National Guard. ICE officers should not have to live in constant fear of death. You say that I'm not using the right term. What would you describe? An organized campaign of violence, fear, intimidation, and doxing, including attacks by sniper, attacks by vehicle ramming. What would you call that, whose sole aim and objective is to disable the functions of an entire federal law enforcement agency, if not domestic terrorism? What other term would apply?
Do you have evidence that this campaign is coordinated? Are you planning charges on anyone who is actually coordinating said campaign?
Yes. So since the Joint Terrorism Task Force is...
So he won't answer the question. So ridiculous, stupid CNN anchor Stephen Miller proposed an excellent question. What would you call it if not domestic terrorism? What would you call everything that Stephen Miller just described? Do you have evidence that it's coordinated? Yes, they have evidence that it's coordinated. Absolutely. And that's why I want to see the JTF 100% go lock up everybody who has given money to these groups. And that means, especially if it was U.S. taxpayer money out of USAID that was laundered through NGOs, every single NGO and the members of those NGOs need to be in prison. They need to be indicted and they need to be tried for terrorism, for funding terrorism, for money laundering, for terrorism. Stephen Miller is absolutely correct. He completely cooks this guy. I mean, they need to let Stephen Miller on CNN all the time. They might actually get more ratings, but he will completely destroy every single one of their arguments. Lynn Sanger, I agree. I don't know why any of these fools want to interview Stephen Miller. Maybe, but my only gut feel is it's the only ratings they get on their show, period. And they only get it not because people actually watch the show, but they get it from all the reposts. It's all I can think of. Now, just so you know that this is also being endorsed by the Democrat Party. It's not just Antifa, it's not just rioters. It's also being endorsed by the Democrat Party. Check this out from the less than astute mayor of Chicago.
The executive orders are about ensuring that we are protecting the people of Chicago and defending our democracy. I've given very direct instructions to ensure that all of our sister agencies and our city departments are doing just that, upholding the local ordinances and, again, protecting and defending the rights of every single resident. You know, as far as, being able to enforce the measures that we have put forward, one, we're going to use every single tool that's available to us. And as I've stated before, you just heard the governor express it as well. This battle is going to take place in the courts and in our communities. Here's what's most important.
Take place in the courts, and this was the important part, and in our communities. So they are going to fight President Trump in the community. The only way you do that is with rioters, protesters, Antifa, violence, you name it. The same level of violence and hate that drove a woman to ram her vehicle into ICE officers, wherein she promptly got shot, hospitalized, and is now getting charged. That needs to happen hundreds of times a day. You're right, Lynn. 700 a day easily in terms of arresting these protesters and rioters. Now, when it comes to arresting illegal aliens and deporting them, that needs to happen on the order of 10,000 a day all over the country. But Lynn, you are absolutely right. Hundreds a day need to be locked up behind bars for this stuff. Now, on the flip side, and why Trump is absolutely killing it, why Trump is up in the polls and Dems are down in the polls, is you see the opposite effect when cities are willing to work with Trump, in this case, Memphis. So on the flip side, you've got these war zones in places like Chicago and Portland that eventually Trump will probably use the Insurrection Act, call up the National Guard, despite what the governor says, tell him to go pound sand, tell Pritzker, to go on a diet, and then they will call the National Guard, not only the Illinois National Guard, but they will. They're already sending Texas and other state National Guards to Chicago. They will shut this thing down. But what's happening right now in Memphis is a phenomenal test case. It's case number 2 that is matching up with DC. Check this out. And it is why Trump is getting much, much more popular with Black people, with Hispanics, with everybody who lives in poor neighborhoods in these large blue cities.
Just got back from Memphis. When I tell you, Memphis is a totally different place right now. For real. I did not know that President Trump was sending them guys down there. And when I say it's police everywhere. For real though. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I ain't never seen Memphis like this before. Cause I go down there and drop off a load at the hospital. You know, you see your normal scragglies, whatever. You know what I mean? Hospital, I don't know why hospital's always a place where they won't hang out at, but it is what it is. But traffic was different. Police is on every corner. I'm like, yo, I'm thinking that they was gonna send them guys to Chicago. I know, see, I don't go to Chicago, so I wouldn't know that anyway. But boy, Memphis, boy, I know they people's like, yes, crime is slowed down. I mean, it look like a totally different city right now. The vibes are different. I don't know. I guess it's just me, man, but Memphis changing for the good, y'all. As they should. The people need that, though. The people need to stop all this riffraff and all this craziness these young kids got going.
Memphis is changing for the good. Now check out this other gentleman who talks also about what Trump and the administration are doing in these inner cities.
Not only do I regret ever voting Democrat, I now believe that it has always been a Democratic mission to not only make Black people's lives worse than it has ever been through policies and laws, but to also make Black people racist and to make white people hate Black people even more. Government psyop, I don't really care what you call it. I just really feel like if the Democrats cared about Black people or the minorities or the impoverished or the disenfranchised, they wouldn't be letting shit get so fucking out of hand. And not only that, it's like they knew they were losing power, so let's make everything worse for the fucking Republicans so it makes them look bad, so when we do get back into power, we could just rinse and repeat. Not only
100%. He nails it. The Democrats have been intentionally destroying Black neighborhoods, Black families, Black culture for 60 years. Ever since the passage of the Civil Rights Act, which was in the Voting Rights Act, fantastic. Black people should have had the right to vote, their full citizenship, no more Jim Crow, no more separate but equal, none of that nonsense. But on the heels of that, they also brought in the Great Society. And LBJ, in his famous words, said that he would have those people voting Democrat for the next 200 years. They have successfully destroyed the Black nuclear family. They have destroyed Black culture. They have destroyed Black neighborhoods. They have destroyed schools, Black education, all of it. And they've done so with a purpose. It was on purpose. It was not a mistake. He's 100% correct because the Democrats are the largest hate group in America. They are the party of hate. They are essentially a domestic terror organization that exists to try to destroy the United States, that stands against American workers, American citizens. They are all in for illegal aliens. They are all in for violence. Anything that sends the U.S. careening towards socialism and the globalist cabal of corruptocrats that want to destroy the United States in favor of their own new aristocracy. That's what we've got going on. That's what I think is happening. Let me know what you think in the comments. Lynn Sanger, absolutely correct. Political fisherman, Trump 2028. Either Trump or Vance or Big Marco, one of the three. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Thanks so much for being here. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't done so, share Courageous Media with everybody that you know. It really helps us out with the algorithm. Make a comment, hit that like button, and please support the channel. Really appreciate you being here. Hope you all have a great day. Remember, God is good and he is sovereign despite all of this. Until I catch you next time.